While Dune Messiah or Dune 3, if the movie is made, does include details from Paul's devastating holy war across the galaxy, the conflict is not the main focus of the novel, which would make the third movie quite different from the first two.
Stay focused at all times.
Welcome to 30's Feedback, folks. So, although Dune Part 2 seemingly indicates a clear direction for future installments in the Dune franchise, the original novels prove that the rest of the story is very different from what viewers might expect. Dune Part 2 dramatically ends with Paul's ascension to the Golden Lion throne as the new emperor, while his army of fanatical Fremen board ships to take the war away from Arrakis and into the galaxy. Naturally, this cliffhanger suggests that the next movie will chronicle the rest of Paul's holy war. The truth, however, is likely to be very different. Thus far, both Denis Villeneuve's Dune movies have remained relatively loyal to Frank Herbert's original novel. Although Dune Part 2 in particular deviates from the original story, especially with respect to Chani and Alia's characters, the broad strokes of the plot remain the same as the book, with Paul grappling with his destiny as the Kwisatz Haderach and the terrifying potential of the religious fervor he has unleashed. Given this precedent, it's likely that Dune 3 will take a similarly faithful approach to Herbert's follow-up novel Dune Messiah. The consequence will be a very different story from what viewers might expect.
I was not expecting that. But I was expecting not to expect something, so it doesn't count.
Even though Dune Part 2's ending indicates that the next movie will detail the events of Paul's holy war, Dune Messiah is a different narrative altogether. Unlike Dune and Dune Part 2, which flow seamlessly into one another, Dune Messiah is set 12 years after the events of Dune. The novel sees Paul firmly established as emperor, with his fanatical legions having obliterated 61 billion lives, conquered around 500 worlds, and ended all resistance to the Muad'Dib's rule. Therefore, while the Holy War provides important context, Dune Messiah's story instead focuses on the political drama behind the scenes of the main conflict. Rather than a full-blooded action movie, Dune Messiah is a story of political conspiracy as a band of would-be rebels scheme to remove Paul from the throne after a bloody 12-year reign. As such, anyone hoping for 3 hours of epic battle scenes featuring Fremen soldiers is sure to be disappointed if the movie sticks to the novel. That said, the Dune franchise has already shown how Dune 3 could incorporate elements of Paul's holy war, having utilized flashback sequences and visions throughout both movies. Yet even if the movie does continue this approach, Dune 3 will not just be a depiction of the Fremen campaign. While the lack of conflict might disappoint some viewers, it will actually give Dune 3 a far better story. Such is the scale of Paul's war that capturing the levels of violence and destruction is impossible for any movie. Furthermore, the action would soon become repetitive and unengaging. However, creatively it is staged, since the story is essentially the same on every planet the Fremen visit. Instead, Dune 3 can follow Messiah's blueprint and become something the series hasn't yet seen, a conspiratorial political thriller.
Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please, Mac? I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day, okay?
Unlike Dune Part 2, which concludes with the epic Battle of Arrakis, Dune Messiah is an intricate story of shadowy schemes and betrayal. It is also a romantic Grecian tragedy, with Paul aware of his fate while trying to plot the best path forward for himself and humanity. Although the novel lacks the epic scale of the original Dune, Messiah is nonetheless a heartbreaking treatise on destiny, power, and faith. Given that these are all themes touched on in Dune and Dune Part 2, continuing the journey in a radically different way with Dune 3 is a great way for Villeneuve's series to end.
That's all, folks.